Hi everyone, Jarrod Nichol, Executive Director for ProjectCoe.com here, and today I'm going to take a look at Halo Wars, which is exclusive to the Xbox 360. This one was kind of a challenge for me to review, and I know I do say that quite often, but honestly, it was tough because I am quite a big Halo fan, and given that this game takes place 20 years before the events of the the Halo event, okay, it means that you're not Master Chief, and it basically it's nothing like the other Halo games. That being said, if you are a Halo fan, you'll really dig this story. It's it's nothing overly complex. It begins with basically a couple of UNSC soldiers investigating the Covenant like you would expect, and it leads into this little bit of a deeper storyline. The thing being that there's only 15 missions in the game, and you're given a little bit of FMV after each mission, where it just gives you a little bit of the storyline as you progress. Now, that being said, the game itself is only about 6 or 7 hours long. All right, right there, that was a little bit of a to me. The other problem, well, not problem, okay, but the other change is that the genre is no longer a first-person shooter. This one is a real-time strategy. Now, what's important with this to understand, anyways, is that when Bungie was creating Halo years ago, they were actually envisioning it being an RTS. So that's something to take consideration of. That being said, it was also not going to be on the Xbox. It was actually originally going to be on the Mac, and then it was moved to the PC, where it eventually went to the Xbox, okay? Obviously, you know that it became a first-person shooter, and yada, 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 you know the whole history. But this was an interesting little experiment, because Ensemble Studios, the group that did the fantastic Age of Empires series, decided that they were actually going to take the the Halo universe and create a real-time strategy around it. So it was interesting for us, because it was sort of like, well, maybe now we could finally get a feel for what Halo could have been, years and years ago. Sadly, that's just not the case here. It feels like they were either really rushed or something happened along the way. Now, don't get me wrong, this is going to sound overly negative, all right? I'm going to tell you the end score right now. I gave the game an 8 on 10, and the reason I didn't go ridiculously higher or ridiculously lower is because this is a truly a polished title. I guess I'll start with just telling you the graphics and the audio. Both are really top-notch, okay? Everything looks good. A lot of the your little soldiers and stuff like that, they really animate well. I mean, there's a few instances where the environments can be a little bit barren. For the most part, everything truly shines. And for the audio, it's utterly fantastic. It's basically the soundtrack that you'd expect from a Halo game. So it's very orchestrated, very epic feeling. Voice acting, I found, was perfect along the along the board. There were a few other little things, like it does get annoying in any real-time strategy game where you highlight your troops and it's like, yes, Commander, over there, Commander, yes, Commander, that sort of stuff, so whatever. But I mean, it's to be expected, okay? So, as you can tell, a lot of money went into this, a lot of production values, so you're basically thinking like, so Jarrod, what the hell happened here? So basically, what I found was the fact that for an RTS, it is a little bit short. Okay, all of the maps that you take part in, of which there's 15. Remember that. They feel very confined. They're very small, I found, and your mission objectives always felt linear. Just like, go here, protect this person, defend your fort. I mean, this is typical RTS stuff. Don't get me wrong. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm just totally hating on the game here, because that's not the case at all. It's just the fact that a little more like either variety or just open up the maps a little bit. But anyways, whatever, that wasn't the case. The other thing that I thought a little bit perplexing is the fact that you can't use the Covenant. So it's like you feel like you're only getting half the storyline, which I was a little iffy on, all right? Like, I like the story and everything like that, but just using the UNSC troops seems a little weak, Like, imagine StarCraft, where you would only use, say, like, the Protoss. That's it. You don't use anyone else. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just comes off a little bit off. Now, the great news is, for this being an RTS on a console, it does control wonderfully well. It's almost like the entire game is made up of hotkeys. So you would press, say, I don't know, one key and it would select every single unit on your screen. Or you press another button and it would pick every single unit period that you have. Or you could press and hold the A button and it forms like a sort of like a circle that fills up, and anything that's underneath, like within the actual circle, you're able to just go ahead and highlight those various troops. All right, but the thing is, you know, it is a console, so you never feel like you have 150% control over all your characters. But again, for being an RTS on a console, it is hands down, it controls better than any other one I've ever played before. So props to Ensemble Studios for that. Now remember, this was their swan song, so that's kind of sad. This was the last game that they'll ever develop because the studio was disbanded. So it's kind of, you know, unfortunate. Okay, that's pretty well the single-player campaign. Now, the good news is that there is an online campaign. You have to share your resources. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because if you've ever played an RTS before, you pretty well know what to expect. And don't forget, you can always hit up projectcoe.com for the full written review, which goes into a little bit more depth on all this stuff and gives you the ins and outs on exactly how the game plays in terms of resources and the different troops you have and, you know, the different little ins and outs. So I'm just giving you a little bit of an overview here today. Anyways, as for more in-depth multiplayer, you can play sort of a single-player multiplayer experience, if that makes any sense. It's basically the one and only game they have called Skirmish. I mean, there's a little bit of variation here and there, but the idea is, you know, you build your resources, you build your armada, and you just go and take out the other guy. That's essentially what you're doing. But you can do it against AI opponents. You don't necessarily have to go online and challenge people through Xbox Live. Now, if you do go online, here's another part where I thought was just a little bit off, is that you can only use the Covenant and the UNSC troops. You can't go and use the Flood. So again, it feels a little bit limiting. And again, the same fact where it's like Skirmish is it in terms of, you know, like what you can do. I don't know, it almost feels like the complete package was like half done, if you know what I mean, half baked. But whatever. If you are a Halo fanatic, and we know there are many out there, by all means, give the game a rent, see if it's for you. If you're not into real-time strategy games, I don't think personally there's enough here to really, like, you know, bring you over to the RTS side. This is mainly a PC-heavy genre, and it's likely going to stay there. I don't think Halo Wars does anything too original that's going to really separate it from the pack. Now, if you are a hardcore Halo fan and you do like RTSs, then by all means give it a go. The story alone is really worthwhile, and I had a really good time with it. But again, like I said, I think production values were really good. A lot of time and effort went into gameplay and controls, but at the end of the day, something happened whereby it just didn't bake as long as it needed to. Anyways, like I said before, I gave the game an 8 on 10. Hit up projectcoe.com for the full written review. And once again, thank you very much for listening. We'll see you soon.